5 iron, 196 degrees. Wow. So if I can control it well, long shots will become really easy.
Hello, Pro. Hello.
Yes. Pro, you're so fit. Oh, no. I don't think amateurs can relate.
Hello, I'm Pro Sangman Han of Guts Golf, Team 14.
One of our amateurs' concerns is that irons should have different distances depending on the number, but many people have 5 and 7 irons that go about the same distance. Yes.
That's right. Is there any way to solve that? I'll help you with today's lesson so that I can help you clearly and precisely.
Oh, thank you. I brought a 7 iron and a 5 iron, and I always ask members, what's the difference between a 7 iron and a 5 iron? They say, of course, the length is different. But few people actually think that the loft angles of these heads are different. The angle of this head, called loft, varies enormously. Each club has at least a 4 to 5 degree difference. The fact that the distance is the same whether you hit the 7, 6, or 5 irons means the loft angle is the same at impact. So, if I can control this loft angle well, long shots will become much easier. Not only that, but all your iron distances will definitely increase. Mr. Poole, how many meters do you see on the 5 and 7 irons? You might not agree, but with the 7, I'm looking at 175 meters, never 200 meters. I
Really don't agree. You might not believe me, but I've been hitting long drives lately, so you might not believe me, but until my 3rd year of playing, I wasn't confident in my long shots. I controlled and hit 150 to 180 meters with just one utility iron.
That seemed more impressive, and I accepted it realistically at the time, because the
long irons don't work, and even carrying a long iron is burdensome, right? That's right, I don't have a 5 iron. But right now, I use a 4 iron and a 2 iron. I use the 2 iron up to 240 meters for tee shots and 2-on shots. If you take a lesson today, it will really help you. First, to hit long irons well, you have to give up practicing with middle irons altogether. What I mean is, just because you hit a 7 iron, you have to give up the idea that other clubs will work well. First, you have to become familiar with long irons. Most people who don't hit a 5 iron substitute it with a 7 iron. If you suddenly start hitting a 5 iron, it's obviously impossible to hit it. That's because you'll be burdened by the address length and head shape. That's why I tell my clients to hit their 4 iron or 5 iron until it breaks. But some of them actually broke it. That means there are quite a few people who have improved significantly by practicing long irons. And as I mentioned earlier, the angle of this head is different, right? If this club has an angle of 25 degrees, which might not be the same as a 5 iron, but if I were to give a ratio, what angle should this 25-degree club be at the moment of impact?
20 degrees.
But those who think like this are already intermediate to advanced players. Oh, really? That's because these beginners, most of whom have been golfing for less than 3 years, think that a 25-degree club should naturally be at a 25-degree angle. Why? Because that's how you go straight. But just knowing that it's made by setting an off angle like swing crew, you're already prepared for a rainy day with long irons. So you need to be able to raise the club head at least 1 to 2 degrees at the moment of impact. But this head-raising motion is called delofting, and you can't do it at impact. You need to be able to raise the head during the downswing, from the top of the backswing. So, if I had to compare it to a sport, I'd often use ice hockey. Ice hockey has a head shape very similar to a golf club, but it's called a stick, and the ball on the bar is called a ball. To use a hockey grip, your left hand grips the tip, while your right hand grips the middle. Honestly, I've never tried it myself, I've just seen it, but I'm explaining it to you because I think you'll probably like it if I explain it this way. When you hold it like this, the face is already facing forward. But facing forward means the face is already open. At address, it's facing this way. So, if you hold it like this, it's facing here. So, what happens if you come down from this position? The face is open. So, while holding the hockey grip, as you swing back all the way down, you rotate your wrist. So, the face, which was facing forward earlier, now faces the floor. That's where it needs to come in. But the crucial point in setting the club head up is this arm and wrist. Most of us, due to our body structure, primarily internally rotate our arms toward our bodies throughout our lives, but rarely externally rotate them away from our bodies. However, in golf, the left arm must externally rotate as it descends. This is the only way to set the club head angle. This external rotation of the left arm is called bowing, and this external rotation of the left arm is called supination. So, with the hockey grip, if only the left arm externally rotates during the backswing, the club head angle will be set. So, even though I'm holding a 5-iron right now, I'm hitting the ball at the angle of a 3-iron at impact. How could distance not increase? It has no choice but to
increase. So, to hit this long shot well, I need to master the skill of externally rotating my left arm and setting the head angle as I come down. If I just keep hitting down because it's not going straight, I'll lose head control even more, and I'll never be able to increase my distance. So, I'll show you how I hit the ball. With my backswing, my left arm is coming down without any external rotation. So, the head angle is like a 9-iron, not a 5-iron. I'll show you how I use the same amount of force. I'll hold the club and see if I can get a good feel for it. The overline only went 95 meters. Now, I'm going to tighten my wrist rotation on the way down. This practice isn't about getting a feel for the ball while hitting it. Instead, hold it like this and keep your wrists moving so that the face is facing the floor. I've practiced this a lot. And later, I'll teach you an easy way to practice without having to hold the club. Okay, let's try hitting it with the same force. It doesn't
make sense. Yes, it doesn't make sense. So, you have to give up the whole idea of hitting a long arrow without being able to control the loft. Then, this movement will overturn the swing. As you swing back and down, before impact, the head has already shifted during the downswing phase, and you'll hit it. It's too late to raise the head right after impact. Okay, let me show you one more thing. The distance is increasing, right? Honestly, I hit the ball right now. Even so, because the loft is still right, you get a bonus for the non-gullibility. But there are many people who see their distance drastically reduced by 40 or 50 meters when they miss the shot. But that doesn't mean there aren't any ridiculous misses. Well, if you hit a long arrow like this on a par 3, there's usually a bunker in front of the green. But if I hit the ball without face control and it floats up and lands right in the bunker, it's an egg. This continues to be a difficult situation. This can give you a bonus distance, at least enough to get you onto the green. So, I've shown you a few things, and I said I'd show you an easy practice method. This also doesn't require a club. I practiced rotating my left arm like this during the downswing by always carrying a ball in my pocket. I put the ball in my fist and lifted my backswing. When I reach impact, if the ball is resting on my palm, my wrist movement is good. This allows me to set the club head angle, create a back lift, and hit the ball down. But if the ball drops when I reach the ball head, it's not an external rotation, but an internal rotation, meaning I have no control at all.
Yes, if I hit a
long eye, I tend to lower it to avoid getting caught, so I try to just turn the nail in a hurry, and my wrist stays still. Your left arm completely freezes. Then, you might not be able to get out of the ball even after the 7th stroke, and that's how it ends up.
Honestly, if I say this, it might sound like a stretch, but if I'd discovered this movement sooner, wouldn't I have been a better player? Would I have even made it to the US? That's how I think. Even in my 10th year of playing, if I didn't get out, I'd just go down even steeper. I'd try to sell more divots into the next block, but the more I did that, the less control I had. If I hit it too hard, the more backspin I'd generate, so it'd be impossible to increase the ball's sway. But if you just rotate your wrists well, you can increase the sway even more. So, when you put the ball in your palm and come down, you have to turn it sideways. I mentioned golf terms like bowing and supination, but honestly, they probably don't like it when I say things like that. If I were to explain it more simply, Players hit the ball with the back of their hand. That's easier to understand. It's so easy to understand, right? If you hit the ball with your hand, the ball will rest on the palm of your hand. If you hit the ball with your palm, you're in big trouble. So, when you come down like this, you can feel the wrist rotation. When you hold the club like this and lift it back and come down, like in hockey, you check the face when it stops at impact. Quote,
"Oh, the head is up." Quote, "If you come right at impact, oh, the face is completely messed up. Oh, the wrist rotation timing is off. What happens if you block the ball like this and turn your wrist here? It's even more unnatural, and the ball has already left. It's already heading to the right. It's dead. So, your wrist needs to be able to change as you come down. So, when you hit long irons or short irons, it's a good idea to stop at impact and check how the head is aligned. I'm curious, the reason long irons are difficult is because, in my personal opinion, they can be difficult, but as the length increases, it seems like there's another difficulty. How do I do this? Yes, what happens if we lengthen the club, say, a 7 iron? The ball position shifts to the left. That means, like a 7 iron, you shouldn't actually hit it. And we have various swing styles. A steep downward strike from above is called a next blow. What's the opposite of a next blow? It's a
more upright swing.
That's called an upper blow. But no, it's not an upper blow. No, it's not. Yes, an upper blow is when the club head actually descends below the ball and lifts it upward. Yes. But how can you hit a ball on the ground with an upper blow? So, the opposite of a next blow is a side blow, a swing that hits downward. At the top of the backswing, the body doesn't move forward, but shifts its weight to lower the club to the side, resulting in a side blow. It doesn't feel like a powerful, thumping impact. That's why I keep emphasizing this swing, and on my YouTube channel, I talk a lot about this side blow swing. Because I've suffered so many injuries and sprained my elbows, I probably spend more money going to a golf club than I do on lessons. I've experienced all that, too. Golf albums, bone fractures, gold, furniture, so I don't prefer that swing style of hitting with a side blow. And there are a lot of people who say, my irons are good, but my drives are terrible. What those people mean is that their entire swing is a slam dunk. For example, they hit every swing with a side blow. And what happens when you swing up and then hit down hard with a side blow? The motion of dragging down from the arc you went up is called lagging. Yes, I hate that motion. Because this lag motion makes the downswing arc smaller than the backswing arc, there's
less time for the external rotation I mentioned earlier. The classic swing emphasized lag significantly, and I practiced it for a long time, but many players don't emphasize it, and many female pros, in particular, hit the club sideways. So, if you feel like you're hitting the club steeply, you won't have enough time to externally rotate. Instead, you can swing the club sideways with your backswing, externally rotating your wrists, and hit a side blow. This swing style will naturally work with not only long clubs but also utility woods and drivers. If you do this
side blow swing, regardless of club length, you'll hit all clubs with a side blow. Even on the course, I hate taking divots. I get stressed when I take them. Oh, and Tiger Woods says he doesn't take divots.
Yes, when you make good contact, it's even better if you don't take a divot. That's what we call good, right? Right. After my elbow surgery, I've been thinking even more about how to hit the ball farther and with less injury. So, I've been researching ways to deloft the club head to maintain a proper head angle. And now, I've completely abandoned the block swing and standardized almost all my swings to a side blow. This
side blow naturally transitions into an upper blow. Since the ball position is on the left side of the swing when hitting down, the driver naturally becomes an upper blow.
That's why I tell my students not to turn their swings into irons, but rather into woods. You know how the pros used to say, you should hit with a dip with an iron and a sweep with a wood. I've studied this in more detail, so I think you can think of it as something I now understand. Wow, that's interesting. Wasn't there anything like that before?
Yes, there wasn't. This is the first time I've heard of it. Oh, yes. So, if you continue to develop the habit of externally rotating your wrist when coming down, your long shot distance will definitely increase. Even if you look at it with your own eyes, you can feel the speed much faster even though you only rotated your hand and body. That's right.
Wow,